Good morning, grade 11. Today we're going to complete unit 2. So we're gonna look at focus on speaking first in our listening and speaking textbook, and then we will switch to our reading and writing textbook for focus on writing. We're gonna review both because last week we all had a holiday, so we couldn't do it. So we're gonna do it today. Means that we gotta pace quite fast to be able to finish on time. If you have any questions, you can just come up with any of your questions or input that you're having. I'm going to, annotate most of it and just gonna go fast through it. It's really the focus of today's lesson is to make sure that everything is reviewed and you can ask questions on any of the material that you still find confusing. Okay, another thing is important is for this week that you finish all your work, because next week on Wednesday you would have to submit your journal and your log, and you have to have finished all your ebook activities for unit 2, listening and speaking, reading and writing. For those who haven't finished their tasks yet for unit 1, whether that is your journal or your log, you can still submit it, though you are deducted, but you will still be graded, so it is important you still give it. For those who haven't done Unit 1, ebook activities, listening and speaking, reading and writing, please do it ASAP. You will be fully scored, even the post-test and the unit test, you can still do it. You will be fully scored for it. Yeah. For those who had a lower mark for their midterm report, don't worry. If you just do all your work, it will automatically be restored. Your grade will be restored for your end of the semester report card. Okay. So for the Google Sheet for Unit 2, I will place it in Moodle today. So then you can look at it. Maybe I haven't made your names yellow yet. For those who haven't done it yet, you have yellow, because I haven't gotten time for that yet. But I will place it today in Moodle so you can already check whether your name is in or not. So it's not yellow yet, maybe, because you can still check because it's in the right order. So you can just see what number is missing. That will be you. Okay. Okay, let's start straight away. So open your textbook for listening and speaking, and let's go to page 38. There's a review of our vocabulary. Now, I will annotate this real quick just so you can check your answers, whether what you wrote is correct or not. And if you have input, you can just let me know, okay? So the first one, we're at the foot of the amazing mountain. We've been training at home, but this challenge, a wheel. Go far beyond. If you would like to answer, you can, yeah? You can just let me know quick. What we've done so far, I'm trying hard not to think about older. Anyone? Okay, if you're not answering, I just continue, because otherwise we cannot finish all at once, yeah? Anyone who would like to respond to number 3? As far as I'm concerned, we're carrying a message of hope. That's what keeps me going. And I think that's
when the going gets tough.
Awesome. Thank you. When the going gets tough, we'll support each other. Thank you very much. It is so good if you guys respond, even though, so I don't always have to ask for your name or mention your name, because you have to understand that it's okay if you answer wrong. It's not so much about being correct. It's more about you daring to speak up and learning to reason and to answer. And even if it's wrong, don't be shy about it, because we're just doing this together. Okay, we're learning together. It's all about you being bold enough to speak up. So I really, really appreciate that. Yeah. So I'm going to clear this. Make sure you've got that correct. Now we go to the next one, because I cannot scroll down if I keep it on, what is it, annotating, yeah? Now I see that this climb will be no small task. Yeah. Many people have a lot of
misconception.
awesome misconception about what disabled people can do and cannot do. What about 7?
Average.
We're gonna turn that one around. Appreciate your response. Awesome. Stereotypical idea. And the last one would be average. Awesome. Really good. Okay. Check this in your textbook. Fix it if it's wrong. This is how we use the words and phrases in context. Yeah. Go to the next one. We have 2 more. Buckled down, devastated, diagnosis, overcome, great odds. 9, diagnosis. What is number 10? Of course, they were devastated in case they had already overcome great odds. After the difficult experience, we buckled down. Yeah, please check that. If you need to, you can make a screenshot to take a picture, yeah? Okay, last. Remember that for your next week, you have to submit your homework, right? But you also have unit 2 test for listening and speaking, and unit 2 test for reading and writing. So you will need to study the vocabulary and the grammar and every part of the text. So just go through your whole textbook, because of every part, there is a question. Yeah, everything is tested in the unit test. So you need to just go over every part, yeah? The reading comprehension, main points, details, skills, for the listening, for speaking, for writing, all of it, yeah? Get ready to hear this. Inspirational news. All these incredible photos will
Make look cool.
Make our trip, yeah, look cool. What about number 15? At one point, I thought
That was it.
that was it. But somehow we were able to.
Persevere.
Here.
Very good. Persevere. Awesome. Persevere is when you keep going, when you do not give up. Okay, check this one, guys. Any questions? Nope. Then we continue. The last part of the unit always has a lot, and we have to do 2. That's so something. Okay, next page. Okay, so this one talks about a literal meaning, which can be literally explained as is stated, as is mentioned. Figurative meaning is underlying meaning, which is implied, which cannot be literally explained or translated. So we're going to look at which is which. So number 1A, is it literal or figurative? A is
Literal.
Yeah, very good. Literal, so automatically B would become figurative of speech, right? What about 2A? I can't wait for your answer, guys. I'm sorry. So 3A, when he opened his eyes, would be literal. And we try to open people's eyes would be figuratively speaking, ya. Jadi as a figure of speech means tidak bisa diterjemahkan secara langsung. For A would be figure of speech. For B would be literal. 5A is a figure of speech, yeah. So 5B would be literal, yeah. Please check this in your textbook whether you got this correct. Are there any questions about figurative meaning? So literal versus figurative meaning. That's why we call it a figure of speeches. So we use that to create deeper underlying meaning, emotions, thoughts. It makes a writing in the text more, let me say that, more interesting. Yeah. Okay, now that brings us to the quotes. Here are the quotes. We look at the words devastated, diagnosis, go far beyond hardship, inspirational, make something look cool, misconceptions, no small talk, overcoming great odds, perseverance, stereotypical. And these are quotes. So you circle the paraphrase that best explains the quote's meaning. Yeah. We're not gonna give the example and so on. We're just gonna pick which is the correct meaning. Basically, you would also have to say whether you agree or not, and then you would have to give examples to support your opinion, right? And use the vocabulary from the box in order to support your opinion. Yeah, this is a really good activity. This is creating, so it's basically you're figuring out what the meaning of the quote is, knowing the paraphrase, but then also creating a response towards it. But we got to skip that today, yeah? If you have any questions about that, of course, you can ask. Okay, we're going to go with number 1. Anybody who lives long enough eventually becomes disabled. Okay. The best paraphrase would be, or meaning would be B. I have not been handicapped by my condition. I'm physically challenged. The paraphrase would be A. When you have a disability, knowing you are not defined by it would be A. Being in a wheelchair is not the most important thing. And then 4, the bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly, blah, 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 blah. And the paraphrase is B. A positive attitude can help one to overcome a physical disability. So it's BAAB. Can you check whether you've got that correct? Do you have any questions about this? So you had to find the meaning of the best paraphrase, which the quote, which was best paraphrase, and then be able to agree or disagree, and then give reasons for your opinion. Okay, the grammar is about gerunds and infinitives. In lines A, we find the infinitives to train, to run, to guide. And in B, we see running, volunteering, which are gerunds, yeah? A gerund is a verb that functions as a noun, so it can become the subject or the object in a sentence. You make it, you form it by using the base form of the verb plus ing, like reaching. And infinitives, we form them by using to and the base form of the verb. So it's to learn, to go, to swim. You cannot say to learning, to go and swim. If you use the word to, you cannot use ing. And often infinitives give purpose. Now in this activity, you would have to look at the flyer and use the information on the flyer by using gerunds and infinitives. You would have to discuss it and come up with ideas or expressions or ideas on how things could be improved in everyday life or how these things could be used. And then you would have to use the gerunds and infinitives and the information in the flyer and here in the box in order to create your opinion, what you think of it and or how it can be used. Yeah. There's a pity we cannot do that right now because it's very good. That's a part of creating where you really have to apply what you're learning and doing so. Okay, we're going to skip to the pronunciation, which talks about thought groups. Now, most speakers, native speakers, speak automatically in thought groups, and it just comes natural. And also for the listener, it's easier to follow what someone is saying when it's spoken in thought groups. So you can hear that even when the person speaks. Let's listen real quick.
My Achilles heel was shyness. I hated going to parties by myself.
Now, very often speakers tend to pause or so, or you can hear from them that those are the thought groups and so the words that are grouped together because that is one particular thought. Now you had to do that here and see what the thought groups are. I will just really quickly circle them for you so you can see. So the first one is when Sailor received her diagnosis, that would be one. And then the second one would be she thought that was it. Yeah. And for number two, a thought group could be she decided to stop painting. And then the second one, and turn to sculpture. And then number three, when people visit her studio, they realize that her art is amazing. You also see that's very often a thought group is up till where the comma would be. See that? Or even up till where the conjunction would be. In this case, the coordinating conjunction and. Yeah, interesting to see. Yeah. Four, we have two options with four. Let's look. We could say they realize and then that art can involve all your senses, but basically this has a combination. This could also be they realize that art, and then that can involve the senses. So there are two ways on how to do that one. And for number five, Miss Sailor's story, and then is an inspiration for all of us. And here you can see how these thought groups, that's how you basically speak. Miss Sailor's story is an inspiration for all of us. So it's kind of how the thoughts work and they're grouped together. Are there any questions about this? We're all good? Oops. Okay, then we go to the next page, which is basically here you have the thought groups and then you would have to create sentences by combining a thought group with another thought group with another, and then create a sentence. Yeah? The speaking skill speaks up using specific examples to support main ideas. So you remember that the general main idea is reflected through the title and the thesis statement, which holds the general topic and purpose, which is the controlling idea of the whole text or the whole presentation. The sub-main idea or sub-controlling idea is reflected through headings or through the topic sentence if you're looking at a text, yeah? And those, basically the general main idea or controlling idea, which is in a thesis statement, is supported by the topic sentences. If we're looking at the sub-main idea, the sub-controlling idea, which is in the topic sentence, those are supported by the main points. So if I will go back from back to front, the details support the main points. The main points support the topic sentence. The topic sentences support the thesis statement. So the thesis statement is developed by the topic sentences. Each topic sentence separately is developed by its main points, and each main point separately is developed by the usage of details. And that's where you have Peel coming in. Yeah. Now here is a conversation and how it supports the talk. I'm not going to annotate that because that takes too long, but I am going to read this out to you. Carol Sailor has accomplished so much. I agree. She has managed to redefine an artist's work and communicate her vision to others. I think Sailor's story is very important for everyone to listen to. Really? Why do you say that? Well, we all need to realize that we can overcome our obstacles. Conversation 3. Did you hear about the Achilles Track Club who climbed Mount Kilimanjaro? They faced so many challenges. Really? Like what? Well, some of them were blind and deaf, but they managed to climb one of the tallest mountains in the world. Conversation 4. The Achilles Club story can teach us a lot. Even people who don't have disabilities? Yeah, I think that they show us, I think that they show us that perseverance and helping others are very important human qualities. So you can see here in the examples that what is answered or how is answered kind of builds up and further explains the main point. It supports the main point by developing it. And here we're talking about our peel. Remember, point, which is your main point. E for explanation, which is your details. Another E for example, which is also another detail. L for linking back to the main point, to the topic. Yeah. Awesome. Now here you had some main points about Stephen Hawking, and you would have to connect it back with the details. So I'm going to mention them for you. Number one's details that are connected to what are, as a child, he was very active and he became a happy and successful person. Number two, Stephen Hawking achieved incredible things. Reflects to he made a flight to space, achieving zero gravity, and he's the author of the best-selling A Brief History of Time. Number three, Stephen Hawking became severely disabled, reflects to Hawking has Lou Gehrig's disease, and symptoms of Lou Gehrig's disease began to disappear when he was in college. Those are, let's say, the details that develop these main points. Looking at Christopher Reeve, number one, Christopher Reeve, the American actor, achieved great professional success in his life. Refers to Reeve played the superhero Superman, and Reeve was not only a gifted actor but also film director and author. Number two, Reeve suffered a serious accident when he was 43 years old. Reflects to a fall from a horse, and Reeve needed ongoing medical care to keep him alive. Number three, Reeve became a strong advocate for disabled people. Reflects to his book, Nothing is Impossible, is an inspiration to many. And he taught paralyzed people to live more independently. Okay, those are the facts or the details that supports the main points in this case. Yeah? Any questions, beloved people? If not, we straight away continue to our textbook reading and writing. Yeah, focus on writing. That's page 50. Here we have the review of our vocabulary. Yeah, accountable, confused, darkest, defeated, disability, exalted, expectations free, give up, hopelessness, inquisitiveness, laborious, misery, mortified, paradise, pride, self-reliance, struggle, suffer, yearning for. Now, how do we group these? I'm just going to mention them. Looking at facing an obstacle, we have confused, darkest, disability, give up, hopelessness, misery, mortified, and suffer. Looking at the group, the category of dealing with an obstacle, we have accountable, expectations, inquisitiveness, laborious, self-reliance, struggle, and a yearning for. In the category of overcoming an obstacle, we look at the words defeated, exalted, free, paradise, and pride. That's how you should have grouped them. Please check that, yeah? An analogy, an analogy is a comparison between two words. It can also be a story. It's a comparison to two words or a story that seem similar and are related in a way. We sometimes use analogies to just make more sense. So those can be synonyms and can be antonyms as an analogy. But analogies can also be used in stories. It's just an analogy of something else which can represent a similar meaning. Now here we're looking at discuss the relationship between the words. So you see here, for example, struggle and fight. They're similar. And so that means it's a synonym. And so what is a synonym of embarrassment? In this case, is shame. Yeah. So the word that best completes each analogy, how they're related. It's either antonym or synonym. Yeah. Okay. So I will annotate that for you. Yeah. So confusion, understanding would be definitely an antonym. And so the antonym of hopeful would be defeated. Yeah. Exalted and noble is an antonym. Exalted is when you're high up, and noble is when you're down below, like really what's the word? I'm not getting the word. Very humble. Yeah. So what is the antonym of free? Would be then confused in this case, yeah, which is the closest in meaning. Number 4, if we're looking at poverty and wealth, is definitely also an antonym. What is the antonym of misery? That would be happiness, right? Yearning and longing is a synonym. Those are synonyms. So we're looking for a synonym of self-reliance, which would be inquisitiveness.
Oh, I thought it's independence.
No.
Oh, I searched in Google and it gives me independence. Okay.
Independence, yeah.
Yeah.
Would make sense as well in a way. Wait. Wait a second. Dun. Yeah, when you are oh yeah, you mean self-reliance is when you are like independent. I get your point. But basically when you're inquisitive, you ask questions, you investigate things. When you're self-reliance means that you have to do everything by yourself. Independence in this case still has a different meaning where you're just on your own. So that means differently. But inquisitiveness is when you are doing everything with also your own initiative, basically like that. So if I were to choose between these two, A is the better answer. Also make sure that when you have multiple choice, there might be one answer that is similar, but not maybe for 100%. So always choose the answer that is closest to the meaning. Yeah. Inquisition also means that you have that initiative to do things on your own. That is self-reliance. Self-reliance is meaning that you're depending on yourself to do things. Yeah. That's a good point you pointed out, Megan. Thank you. Number 6, laborious versus difficult would be a synonym. Yeah. And in this case, the synonym of falling apart would be mortified. Inquisitiveness, indifference, that would show an antonym. Because when you're indifferent, you don't really care. When you have inquisitiveness, you do care. You're going out there to do things on your own. Giving up. So the antonym of giving up would be to continue, right? Meager and plentiful show an antonym. Meager means you don't have much. Plentiful, you've got a lot. So we're looking for the antonym of accountable would be irresponsible. When you're accountable, you're very responsible. Darkest versus unhappy would be a synonym. We're looking for the synonym of immoral when you do not have that many morals, would be sordid. Yeah. So these would be the answers. Please check them. Are there any other questions? No? Okay, good. So what is important for you to remember out of this is that an analogy can be a word, synonym or antonym, which is closely in meaning or refers to another meaning, basically shows a similar or related meaning in a way, but it can also be a story. Okay. Now, quickly the grammar. Here we're looking at the gerunds and infinitives. Basically, I'm not going to annotate this. That takes too long. In sentence A, the subject is teaching. In sentence B, the object of the verb enjoyed is writing about his childhood. In sentence C, the word that follows the preposition of is reading. We're looking at A, B, C, the gerunds. Now, how are the gerunds formed? They're formed by the usage of the base form of the verb plus ing. In sentence D, the main verb is refused, which is followed by to give up. In sentence E, the main verb is persuaded. Now, the object of that is New York University, which is followed by the verb to enroll. And sentence F, the verb that follows the adjective free is to write. And in sentence G, the verb that follows the noun ability is to inspire. The bold-faced words in D, E, F, G, so D, E, F, G, to give up, to enroll, to write, to inspire, are all infinitives which are formed with to and the base form of the verb. Okay? It's funny because you have it in listening and speaking, and reading and writing both speaks of gerunds and infinitives, yeah? Now we're gonna annotate this. You underline the gerund or the infinitive in each sentence and write the number of the grammar rule because there are rules to it, which is which, and you've gone through that already. So I'm just going to annotate on which rule is which, right? So first off, I'm going to underline. So here we have doing, then we have to run. Okay, I'm not doing this really rapid. To not going, to complete, to describe, to be defined, to write, recounting. Recounting is a bit too long, that line. Writing, to write. Yeah, so those are infinitive, gerund, yeah, infinitive, gerund, infinitive. Awesome beans. A is 1, B is 6, C is 2. Check that, yeah. D is 5. E is 4C. F is 4A. G is 5. Rule number 5. H is rule number 1. I is rule number 3. And J is rule number 4B. So you can check that, yeah? See how this works, whether you've got those correct or not. You can also take a screenshot or so, yeah? Any questions about that?
No.
Okay, cool then. Okay, this part, you had to read the information about Franklin Cordy and Maria Runyon, rewrite the situation, use the form of the first verb given and the gerund or infinitive form of the second verb. I'm not going to do this whole thing with you because it takes too much time, but you just had to rewrite the situation and then you would have to use the gerund or infinitive form, right? So here it says use a form of the first verb given and the gerund or infinitive form of the second verb. So if you see here, you have feel free and write. So McCord was worried that his memoirs would embarrass his mother. After she died, he didn't have to worry about this, which means that after his mother died, McCord felt free to write his memoirs. Do you guys have any questions about this practice on how to use the gerund and infinitive and changing the verb forms? Yeah, so basically the gerund and the infinitive goes for the second word, yeah? Feel free becomes felt free. Because it's in the past tense, so it becomes felt free, right? Okay, then. Okay, this one really talks about you're writing your essay, right? And this talks about the topic sentence, which really holds the sub-controlling idea, sub-main idea. Controlling idea, main idea, same thing, which holds the subtopic and purpose. And that is exactly what needs to be developed in the supporting sentences in the body, which are your main points and details. And a concluding sentence basically just rounds it up again. In this text, the topic of the paragraph is overcoming obstacles, because we see it in the first line, we see it in the third line. It's very clear at the beginning that it is about overcoming obstacles. The controlling idea of this text, if you want to know the controlling idea, which is main idea, always look at the topic sentence and the concluding sentence, which is the last sentence here in short, even though until here. And you could look at the main points if you want, but mostly the controlling idea is enough to be looking at the topic sentence and a concluding sentence to just make sure. In this case, the controlling idea is that the world is full of people who have overcome obstacles and also benefited from overcoming these obstacles. So a lot of people overcame obstacles and benefited from it. That would be the controlling idea. Yeah, so remember, for a main idea and a theme, all those global questions always go to the introductory paragraph and a concluding paragraph, and or in a paragraph go to the topic sentence and the concluding sentence. So what does support the topic and controlling idea? That definitely starts here from figure. It's really the body all the way until here. Yeah, so this whole part here develops it. And the concluding sentence is, in short, even though that road was paved with obstacles, he was able to overcome them and achieve the impossible. That would be your concluding sentence, and it kind of rounds up the paragraph. It ends the paragraph nicely. So when you go to a next body paragraph, you start with a new subtopic. Remember, every paragraph has its own subtopic, and all these subtopics are written in the topic sentence. And that's why I said at the beginning, the thesis statement is developed by the topic sentences. The topic sentence is developed by all the main points, and the main points are developed by the details. The concluding sentence just links it back up, yeah? And make sure that it is a good rounded, finished paragraph. Any questions about that? These things are all in your unit test. Remember, your unit test for listening and speaking and reading and writing tests every part. So just go through the whole unit, because every part, besides the vocabulary and the grammar, it also goes through every other part in the unit. So just read through all of it, yeah? Now, read each topic sentence, and 2 ideas support the topic sentence. So we're looking for what ideas are the supporting sentences, the supporting ideas, basically the main points. And there is one that does not, and the one that doesn't fit, we cross that one out. So is there anyone who would like to tell me which we should cross out in number 1? It's already, yeah, Greg's academic achievements. What about number 2? The achievements of people like Greg Barton and Marlon Runyon have inspired many others. Which one should be crossed out, does not fit? Anyone? No? That should be C, though. Greg Barton's and Marlon Runyon's obstacles are not supporting this. It talks here about the achievements that have inspired many others. They explain how they have inspired others and how many people have read, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't say the obstacles. So this one would not be a good support. In number 3, the poverty-stricken lives of Frank McCourt's students deeply affected him. What could be crossed out is not really a support, would be B. How Frank taught his students to write is not really supporting this topic sentence. Yeah, how Frank saw himself in his students and how the students inspired Frank to write is a good support for this topic sentence. Looking at number 4, training to run a marathon is a very difficult and time-consuming process. Now, what is the sentence that does not support it really well? is reasons why people should run the marathon. Yeah, but Miss Sylvie talks about the marathon. Yes, it does, but maybe it doesn't mention the right topic about it. Here it talks about that it is difficult and time consuming, that it is a process. It doesn't talk about the reasons why people would do it. So saying that it
One
needs
is tricky.
what it needs, that it says that it needs patience and that it needs an amount of practice and time, that it needs patience makes sense. It goes back to that it is difficult, and that it needs an amount of practice and time refers to the fact that it is a process. So remember, in a topic sentence, you always have the topic and a purpose. Make sure that the development, the main points that you use, really reflect and develop that topic sentence. So in this case, you see A reflects this part and C reflects this part. Here it talks about how the students deeply affected him, that Frank saw himself in his students is correlated here, and how students inspired Frank also correlates here. Yeah, so make sure that the keywords really are connected. Yeah, Megan, that is not always easy because this takes analysis. You need to analyze and work with the keywords in order to understand that. Any questions about that? No? Now, this is the last thing we're going to do for today is where you had to see in this paragraph. Just now it was just sentences. Now you need to see in this paragraph what sentence does not support it. So it has one supporting sentence that does not directly relate to the topic. Here we see Helen Keller lost her sight at a very early age and so was very frustrated as a child. Now, if you look at this, first of all, she couldn't hear and speak. Yeah, she couldn't understand what her mother was doing. And then suddenly it says her mother could hear and speak. That is not directly connected because it's about how she was frustrated, not about what her mother could do. Right? So this sentence could be crossed out. Now, looking at these two, let's see. Yeah, succeeding in sports liberated Marla Runyon and Greg Barton. Yeah, this is the topic sentence. It talks about that them being able to do it, it liberated them. Yeah, they felt liberated, felt happy, felt free. So they both face overwhelming obstacles, but it freed them. For example, when Marla was on the field, she finally felt she could do as well as everyone else. Similarly, when Greg found sports and his physical limitations, he excelled. In addition, Marla has become a best-selling author. They're both great athletes. This is the concluding sentence to round it up. Now, clearly we can see that this part has nothing to do with the topic sentence.
I see, yes.
Because they're not talking about what other things they do, right? In addition is a signal word, cohesive device. It's a transition that shows that something else is added up, but it has nothing to do with this topic. So you got to make sure that your support sentences are always supporting your topic sentence.
Okay.
Let's look at number 3. Some of the world's most talented and famous people have overcome some of the hardest obstacles. So this is the topic sentence. We see that it's about talented and famous people. They overcame difficulties. Yeah, that's what it is about. And then here the example of Ludwig van Beethoven, deaf at age 46, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, paralyzed but president. Finally, Stephen Hawking is a world famous scientist who's completely paralyzed and cannot speak. And then, furthermore, he lives in England. Say what? These people show us that we should never give up or let obstacles defeat us. This is a very nice concluding sentence. And as you can see, this concluding sentence really restates the beginning. So your concluding sentence really kind of restates, rephrases the topic sentence, right? But you can never use the same words. Okay, so yeah. Megan's laughter gave it away. This is definitely the one that we, yeah, this doesn't make sense. He lives in England, that's not the point of the talk, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys get this? I believe you do. Are there any questions? Make sure for your essay to look at your checklist. Yeah, you're not writing a paragraph. Remember, you're writing an essay. So that is definitely a difference. I'm gonna look with you quickly at the schedule. Our schedule last week was supposed to be this. So some of you already did the post test. Thank you. That's really cool. Some of you haven't. No problem. No worries. Last week we didn't have a lesson. So today then I'd like you after this lesson to do post test 2. That is ebook listening and speaking unit 2 post test 2. And ebook for reading and writing unit 2 post test 2. So you do post test 2 for both listening and speaking, reading and writing. Okay. And also remember next week, next week you're gonna submit your log, and remember that your speaking test link is inside the log. Make sure that your link can be opened, because for unit 1 it was a huge endeavor for me because a lot I couldn't access. And many of you thought that you would have to re-upload it, but you don't, because if, for example, you would have given me the wrong link and I asked for access, you can just change the setting in Drive. You don't have to re-upload it. So just go to Drive. If you do it on your laptop, you probably just change it from restricted to unrestricted, which means anyone with this link can access. That's what it is. Something like that. If it's on your phone, you probably just click on link sharing on. Yeah, probably your link sharing is off, and you just turn it on and I can access it automatically. Yeah. So that's the cool thing of Drive. Now, remember, please people, submit your journal and log in a Google Doc format. Last time I had a hard time editing. It takes me harder. So I will edit it better this time because most of you said there were only a few who did Google Docs, and it takes a lot of time for me to open it in Google Docs. The loading takes quite long, and that times 11 classes is long. Have mercy. Yeah, so if you already understand it, try to upload it in a Google Doc format. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then for your essay, yeah, just follow everything how it should be done. Remember your bibliography. You're writing a biographical essay about a person who has overcome an obstacle. So you do your research. Remember 4 sources. Use the MLA format. Many still make mistakes on that. Remember, you have to put in the date that was published, but also the date that you accessed it when you retrieved it. So look it up, Google it, it's easy. I also gave you the PDF for it. You can just look at it, yeah? Okay, beloved students, are there any more questions? No? Okay, I'm waiting for the class secretary's update on the attendance. Have a great week. If throughout the week you still stumble upon things, you go like, I don't know this, just ask me. Remember, check out your Google Sheet for Unit 1 and Unit 2 to check whether you've done everything. Sometimes students have the idea that they did it already, but they hadn't. Sometimes students submitted it, maybe forgot to click submit, that happens. Or some of you, either your laptop or your phone's history is too full, and that's why it can't load or it doesn't get sent. So make sure that your PC or your laptop, and especially your phone, always clear history. You know, clean your cages, your cookies, the whole thing, because sometimes that makes your phone slow. Yeah. So how do I check? Go to the Google Sheet and see whether your name is there. If your name appears, means your grade is recorded. Aman. Okay. When your name is not there, means you haven't done it yet, and you can just still do it. Okay. And open your Google Sheets on your PC or your laptop, people, because if you do it on your phone, it gets weird. Yeah? Okay. Have a great week. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Miss. Thank you.
Bye, Miss.